Hey, Mojo here. Thanks so much for taking a few moments out of your life to tune in, and may these moments be of value to you. I was thinking this morning about the grand symphony of things at scale. In our own bodies, there are literally billions of cells, particles, neurons that all have to work together to create us, right? To form us, to allow us to function. And then on the cosmic level, there are literally billions and perhaps countless numbers of stars and planets all hung in the exact right space, orbiting where they need to go, that allows and sustains life on this planet as we know it. And on this planet alone, there are billions of people, 7, 8, 9 billion people on the planet. And we have the opportunity, if we so choose, to work together in harmony to create a sustainable, loving, enjoyable experience for all. But that's the rub. It's the choice. And as a musician, there were many times when I was playing trumpet in the orchestra when I would put down the music in front of me and notice ahead that there was like 86 bars of rest. I had to sit there on my chair while everybody else played, and I have to start counting measures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 75, 2, 3, 4. And I gotta tell you, in those times, there was all sorts of voices inside my head saying, why are you here? What's the point? Wouldn't you rather be doing something else than sitting here counting measures? And then, of course, as I got close to the end of those measures, suddenly my awareness and my attention snaps into place because I realize I'm on pretty soon, right? I need to play, and boy, I'm sure hoping I didn't miss a measure or add one, because it's so important in the symphony that I play on time and that I play in tune, right? And that I'm following the conductor's directions and interpretation and expression. And I love that analogy. I think it's such an applicable analogy to life on this planet, is that each of us, billions of us, right? We have our own instrument, our body, our mind, our soul, our spirit. And although we have much in common, there's something incredibly unique and exquisite about how we've been created. So we produce our own tone, our own texture. And yet somehow, some way, if we are in tune and on time, what I play can resonate and harmonize with what you play. I hear a lot in the news about the desire for balance in terms of equity, and I understand that argument. But in my mind, balance is like a scale, right? Where you put the exact same amount on each side. And I realize, for me anyway, it makes much more sense to strive for, to desire harmony over balance. Both are important, of course. And here's what I mean. In an orchestra, in a symphony, there's 120 players perhaps in the orchestras that I played in. And we don't all play full blast all the time. In fact, if we did, it would be both exhausting to the musicians and to the audience as well. But what makes a symphony truly exquisite and wonderful and moving, right, both for the musicians and for the audience, is the flavors, the textures, the crescendos and decrescendos, and the fact that there are times when everybody is playing full volume in that fanfare, and then there are times when it's just the piccolo or the oboe or the flute doing a solo, and then a section, a harmony. And then when everybody's listening and playing together, playing well together, right, which is something we learned in kindergarten, then magic happens. Something moving far beyond just the resonance of the tones and the harmonics, but something emotional happens. Again, in me, as an individual player, in the orchestra that I am working with, as we create things together, and then for all those who are tuned in and listening, not just with their ears, but with their heart. So as a believer in a grand creator, in the grand design of the cosmos, it's amazing to me that this symphonic idea, the symphonic metaphor, applies both on the quantum level, when all the little particles have to play well together, on the individual level, where they all work together. I just heard in an interview between Tom Bilyeu and Elizabeth Poe, who works in brain science at UCLA, just brilliant conversation. She says that the most recent research indicates that the synapses in our brain, the cells that make our brain work, actually regenerate every 7 days. It was believed it was like every 7 years, which is remarkable enough, but they regenerate, they turn over every 7 days, and yet there is a cohesiveness to who I am, myself. But it's not static, it's always in flux, in change, in motion. That's again why I love this, that I'm drawn to this concept of harmony over balance, because harmony indicates that there's something being played, that it takes time and it takes attention to play in tune. It takes me practicing individually to really hone my craft, so that when I play, when it's my turn, I play beautifully. Sometimes it's a solo and I get the attention, right? And sometimes it's a duet, or in the grand scheme of things, perhaps it's a giant symphony. And yet all of that is necessary to create that experience. So I view God, right? I view our Creator as the grand Maestro, who stands where we can all see him. Sometimes we see him inside and feel him. Sometimes we see him on the outside, sometimes both. But if I'm willing to follow his lead, her lead, however you want to describe that, his understanding of how the music flows and how all of the textures, the tones, the timbres work together, and knows when to bring out one individual instrument or a group or a community or a country or a planet or a universe, to create music on every level, from the cosmic to the quantum level. Symphonies in play all the time. Here's the interesting thing about harmony, is that when I'm not in harmony, right? What's that? It's dissonance. If I'm not resonating in a frequency that harmonizes with those around me, there's a dissonance, and I can hear it, I can feel it, right? Now that's an opportunity for me to course correct, to tune up and tune in. Oftentimes, unfortunately, I take it as a self-critique or criticism, and I feel like I just want to quit. I remember when I was in high school, I had the opportunity to go see Maynard Ferguson play at a little high school in Wyoming, which was spectacular because the venue was small, world-class musicians all across the stage, all playing their instrument at the top level of performance, and yet playing well together. So that was creating this amazing experience for me. But there was this voice inside my head as a budding trumpet player that says, I just as well quit now, right? I'll never be able to do that. I have no hope. I am not a trumpet player. That's a trumpet player, and a saxophone player, and a clarinet player, and a flute player, a drummer, etc., etc. But as I look back over the experience, I realized that I could either quit there, or I could take that as a challenge, right? As an inspiration to hone my craft, to practice more, to push beyond my perceived limits and become a better trumpet player. To not for perfection. Perfection is overwhelming as a goal, but for progress. To focus on progress rather than perfection. And as it turns out, because I stayed with it, right, and I had coaches and mentors and teachers and musicians around me that I could learn from, that I was willing to learn from, right, then trumpet became my passport to the world. I was able to join a gospel group and tour 30 countries, all 50 states, and had the opportunity to play and sing for Mother Teresa in Calcutta, and Pope John Paul II in Rome. And for a little kid who grew up in Montana, these are opportunities I never would have had I not stayed with my craft and continued to hone it and continued to understand, what does it mean to play well with others? I think that's the opportunity, that is the invitation for us all to realize on whatever level. Again, be reminded perhaps that each of us is an instrument, and we bring our own tone and texture and timbre and flavor to the mix. And when we are in conflict with each other, we create dissonance. But that is intentionally built into the system so that we can be alerted to that dissonance and make adjustments. It's not so that we're in unison all the time. You can imagine a whole concert where every instrument played the exact same note all the time. Not very exciting, not very symphonic, right? Symphonic is that we each play our own tone, but we play it in tune, we play it on time, we follow the lead of the maestro, and we play well together. So my encouragement, which is probably to me as much as it is to anybody who may have tuned in, is to begin to see what is hidden in plain view. The fact that on every level, from individual to family to community to group, etc., these are sections in the grand scheme, in the grand orchestra, and that we have a place. We have a note, not just a note, we have notes to play, and that our calling, our ultimate contribution, right, to the grand symphony is to play in tune to the best of our ability. And when we are dissonant, to recognize that and to adjust, to celebrate the solos when it isn't mine and be prepared when it is my turn. So you are a symphony, from the internal to the external. Both is an individual and part of the collective. So I just highly encourage you to hear it, to feel it, and to play well with others.